Hello. Today I read a part of my book, the Zwuggles, and it's not an easy book. And it's all about a transformation. It's all about an inner change, and it's all about racism. Later that day, as I was leaving my parents, I passed by the old lady's house again. She was still sitting there, and when she saw me, she waved enthusiastically and beckoned me to come closer. I felt drawn to her, intrigued by the happiness that seemed to radiate from her. I carefully climbed the old wooden stairs, which creaked under my weight, and hoped they wouldn't break. "Come and sit with me for a while, my dear," she whispered, smiling at me again. Her face was full of wrinkles, and each one seemed to add to her warmth and kindness. I believe that almost everyone is searching for happiness in life. In that moment, I asked myself whether I was truly happy, whether my parents were, and if my entire family really knew what happiness meant. My parents had always been there for us, not just financially, but emotionally too. Even as we grew older and moved out, we could always reach out to them day or night. As I sat there, I noticed the old lady's garden, filled with herbs and flowers of all colors, reminding me of my mother's garden. It seemed simple at first glance, but revealed so many hidden details upon closer inspection. I felt the same energy my mother had poured into her garden and into raising us, her children. Both my mother and father always guided us toward finding our own path in life, raising us to be responsible and optimistic individuals. For them, family always came first, and they never complained about the sacrifices they made. "Do you live here alone?" I asked, curious about this wonderful woman. "Oh, no," she replied with a hoarse voice. "I'm never alone. The Zwuggles and Paul are always with me. They keep me company and help me whenever I need it." I had never heard of Zwuggles before and was intrigued. "Are you married?" she asked me next. I shook my head and replied, "No, I haven't found the man of my dreams yet, and to be honest, I'm not really looking." "I've been married 3 times, she said with a soft laugh. "But my last husband, Paul, was the love of my life. He's no longer with me, but he lives on in my heart, and we still talk every day. He taught me the most important lesson in life." As she spoke, a gentle wind began to blow, and the leaves danced to the song of a blackbird perched nearby. Her joy and wisdom were palpable, and I felt privileged to be in her presence. "Do you have children?" I asked, and she nodded. "Yes, 1 daughter. I love her deeply, but we had a long journey to find our way back to each other." I couldn't help but wonder more about her life. Who were the Zwuggles, and why was she so content in her solitude? "Oh dear, don't worry about me," she said. "I'm very happy now after all the mistakes and hardships I've faced." "You seem so peaceful, wise and happy," I remarked. She smiled and replied, "It took a long time, but I finally found my inner peace. The most important thing in life is to be at peace with yourself. It doesn't matter how you look, what titles you have, or how much money you earn. If you feel empty inside, none of it matters. I'll tell you my story, if you'd like." Eager to learn more about this fascinating woman, I nodded, ready to hear her tale. Then she began sharing the story of her life. "You must have had a long and interesting life," I said with a smile. "Far too long," she replied, letting out a soft laugh. "I'm 98 now." When I was young, she began, I was a terrible person. The worst kind of woman you could imagine. I blinked in surprise, the magic of her warm presence fading for a moment. But I was hooked. What happened? I asked, leaning forward. Once upon a time, she started, her voice tinged with regret. There was a very beautiful girl. That was me. I was my parents' only child, and I never learned the value of hard work. Instead, I got by through deceit and manipulation. And I was lucky, I was pretty, and I knew how to use it. I was a real bitch. I couldn't look away. There was something captivating about her raw honesty. You know, I offered, trying to console her. Sometimes everyone behaves badly. Maybe it's just human nature. She shook her head. Oh, I took it to an extreme. I was married 3 times. The first 2 times I only married for money and status. But fate was kind, and I finally discovered what true love is. I regret how I treated my first 2 husbands. They were wealthy men who wanted a young, beautiful wife to show off, and I was happy to play that role until I wasn't. Then I met Paul, my 3rd husband. He was my salvation, the love of my life. She smiled warmly, and somehow that smile restored some of the magic. I was a beautiful young woman, and I enjoyed every bit of the attention. But it was never enough men, never enough money, never enough admiration. I had everything, but my daughter, she was nothing more than a status symbol. I never had time for her, never held her when she was sad or celebrated with her when she was happy. I was always chasing more. And my friends, they were just like me. We weren't really friends, we were competitors, always trying to outdo each other. I watched her trying to process her story, hoping it wouldn't take a darker turn. Yet I needed to ask. But isn't that how life often goes? No, she said firmly. It doesn't have to. I was a devil with the face of an angel. I made men fall for me, ruined friendships, and all because I was jealous. I never truly loved anyone except Paul. I took a deep breath, trying to make sense of her story, but before I could speak, she continued. And then I met the Zwuggles, she said with a mysterious smile. The Zwuggles, I echoed, more bewildered than before. Yes, she nodded. They changed everything. They changed me. They showed up out of nowhere and turned my life upside down. First, I was terrified, but now I'm grateful. I gave her a skeptical look. The Zwuggles, I asked, trying to hide my disbelief. Where did you meet them? In a hotel, she said, her voice dropping to a hoarse whisper. Now they live with me. They've been with me for many years. I thought she must be out of her mind. This was too much. I was ready to leave, but as I began to stand, she commanded, Sit down. I know what you're thinking. Just listen. I hesitated, then sat back down, feeling a shiver of unease. Maybe she was some sort of witch, I thought. Her eyes looked onto mine, and I felt like she was looking straight into my soul. My life was filled with luxury, greed, and envy, she began, her voice steady. And then it happened. I was at a charity event in a lavish gold hotel. I'd had too much champagne and went to the restroom to fix my makeup. I removed my expensive rings and placed them on the sink. I looked into the mirror and saw it, the wrinkles, the streak of gray. I need another facelift, I thought. I need to dye my hair. But as I kept staring, I realized something. There was no happiness in my eyes. None at all. She paused, and I saw tears welling up. And then, out of nowhere, I noticed movement. 3 little figures appeared. They flew past me and landed in the sink. They were no bigger than my hand, almost like tiny umbrellas with white, translucent bodies, black eyes, and tiny mouths. They looked like little jellyfish with arms and hands. Who are you? I asked them, terrified, but they just stared at me. One of them spoke. Hi, Wilma. How's everything? I was confused. My name isn't Wilma, I snapped. I'm Elizabeth. But they just laughed and said, to us, you're Wilma. I couldn't help but ask, what did they want? They asked me why I was looking in the mirror. I said I was making sure I was still beautiful. They burst into laughter, tears streaming down their faces. You're not beautiful, they said. No human is truly beautiful. I was stunned. I'd always been told I was perfect. She leaned closer. But Zwuggles told me that no human is truly rich or beautiful. They showed me what I'd become, and I couldn't deny it any longer. And then I whispered, and then they took me on a journey, she said, eyes bright. They showed me the world through different eyes. They showed me what it meant to be truly human. When I woke up the next morning, I was changed. I was no longer the same. My skin had turned black, my features different, and suddenly I had to face life in a way I never had before.